Right, Super Bowl 59, mate. We're on the home straight. Narrative Central again this week, mate. All these interviews in New Orleans, all these kind of things. A lot of noise, a lot of different opinions. And it's a pretty efficient market in terms of the money line, the points total. It takes a lot to move Super Bowl lines, definitely on a Wednesday. But
it's been moving, though. It's been moving. It's been filling money all week.
Yeah, there has been. But I mean, like, there's going to be Chiefs play back there too, surely, right?
I don't know. I think if you've got a model, like the sort of smart people like Rufus Peabody, people like that, smart people I've seen with like year-long stats in their model have Philly by like 1, which I think, what is it, 1.87 after like last Monday, and it's now 1.93, 1.94. So I wouldn't be surprised if it hung around there.
197 Eagles +1 with our friends at matchbook.com. You can back them at 2.04 on the money line. Total is 48.5. We'll start with a couple of player props in a second. This one kind of has vibes of the Chiefs against the Bucks a couple of years ago in terms of how, this is my opinion, of terms of how this Eagles defense operates and the pressure they could potentially get. And I think this game, in my opinion, will potentially come down to everyone's talking about the Chiefs D and the O-line from the Eagles, but I think it's the other side. It's the Eagles defensive line, and can the Chiefs offensive line hold up and protect Mahomes? Big question. We'll get to the player props in a second. Which way are you leaning on the sides?
I still have no idea. I think
you sense I'm leaning Eagles in it.
You're leaning Eagles. I think I'm leaning Eagles. Yeah. I think the Eagles have big edges, as you're saying, both lines of scrimmage. Like, so Chiefs offensive line, since they moved Joe Thuney to left tackle, the interior has not been as good. They're averaging 3.57 yards per carry rushing the ball since then. Like in the AFC Championship game, they had a 38% rushing success rate, minus 0.26 EPA per rush. That is dreadful. And the Bills it's a good run defense, but again, it's maybe not as good as the Eagles run defense, not as good as the Eagles defensive line. So I can see them struggling to block and then get any movement in the run game. So I think it's going to have to be a Mahomes superhero game. Him avoiding the rushes, him creating with not much help from the run game. And then the other side of the ball, again, you would say the Eagles have the edge there, wouldn't you? Probably the best offensive line in the league against a middling defensive line, and a defensive line which also has not been stopping the run. Joe Mixon in the divisional round for the Texans, 18 rushes for 88 yards and a touchdown. James Cook last week, 13 rushes, 85 yards, 2 touchdowns. And I don't know if you remember that a bit in that Chiefs game, or if you'd fallen asleep by then, but there was the sideline reporter, and Spags was on the sideline going, "We need to stop the run," because they had that drive just after halftime. It's like 13 plays, rush. And he was going, "We have to stop the run." And I don't think they can do that easily without throwing a load of bodies at it. If they stick 8 in the box, 9 in the box every play, they probably will be able to stop the run. But I don't think they can do it easily just with talent on the field, if you know what I mean.
I do. And a lot of people are going to say this week. How can you go against Mahomes in the Super Bowl? And geez, the 2 49er games in the last couple of years, I backed Mahomes, and I backed him against the Bucks. So I'm never kind of come off that train. High leverage spots, this offense and this coaching staff on both sides of the ball, they find a way. But I think if you do have to take some of that away to a certain degree and give credit where credit is due, in terms of the matchup and the advantages. And we always go back to this. If you have a team beat on the offensive line, defensive line, which we think the strengths, this lies with the Eagles, then like, why are they underdogs? Again, because Mahomes, and like, fair enough. I get it. We get it. They're going for 3 in a row, but I think you have to be a bit more impartial than that and just kind of take a step back from it to a certain degree.
Yeah, I'd say if you like the Eagles, there are better ways to get at it than just to beat Mahomes, because that is absolutely a real thing. If he's down 4 with the ball with 2 minutes left, then you're in trouble. So other ways to bet the Eagles, if you think the
Yeah.
Eagles are the side, which it seems like we probably do, is Eagles first half. You can probably get them +1, like -115 or so. That's good. The Chiefs have not been ahead in any of their 4 Super Bowls. They were down 10 against the Eagles. I think it's 24-14. I think they were down against the Niners last year. They had to come back. And that makes sense as well. That again, if you have the better players, they looked like the 49ers last year. They looked like the better team for the first 40 minutes of the game, and then Reed makes his adjustments at times. Mahomes, the pass rush starts getting a little bit tired, and Mahomes starts making stuff. So maybe you go first half, or maybe you go Eagles team total. But yeah, so I went Hurts MVP, which is about 5.0 on the exchange at the minute. And I only bet this today, and I did it because I realised I'd bet Hurts rushing yards, Hurts longest pass over 34.5, and Hurts passing yards. And I thought, right, if Hurts is going nuts here, I probably should just back him MVP. And the angle is mainly, I think the Chiefs' game plan is stop Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
That's what they did 2 years ago when it was Miles Sanders, but it was stop the run game at all costs. Don't let them pick up 6 yards at a time because you die a slow, painful death. So as many people in the box as possible, run blitz him. And then, so what happened 2 years ago is that the same for the read options, that Hurts ended up carrying it most of the time because they were like, we don't want the ball in Saquon's hand. So again, if they're crashing down onto Saquon, Hurts is going to have to take the ball. So I feel like that's where he gets some more rushing yards. Just, he's sort of forced to keep the ball and take off himself. And then the same thing on the outside. If they're leaving 1-on-1, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, that's when you get your explosive plays. And again, last year this tactic worked. They were run blitzing the 49ers and they were leaving their corners 1-on-1. And if you watch that back, you will see McDuffie and Snead all over the receivers all game long, all over Ayuk and Debo, and they played a brilliant game. I think that's why they won the game. I don't think they can do that against AJ Brown in particular, and against Smith, because AJ Brown's just a better receiver than those two by a mile, and Debo's not very good, a route runner either. So I think the Eagles receivers win those matchups, and that's how Hurts gets at least one bomb, probably to AJ Brown, if you ask me, because I think they're going to be one.
AJ Brown versus man coverage. That's pretty good.
He's mental,
fifth most. Yeah, so he goes off. He's best in the league against it. You put this in the Telegram group last week. Jalen Hurts longest completion, 35+ yards. I think you got it at 1 point in. You were happy with the price, 186.
Gone down.
But again, but no, look, again, market has tightened up a bit too. Like there's going to be just a bit more margin the week before. But speaking of Matchbook, and we were obviously delighted to be associated with those guys this year. We have a long storied history on their own podcast, Brad, of course, and those ones, you can actually combine them in the bet builder. You can't do that at 365, like longest completion, longest reception, longest rush. So there's different fun kind of ways you can get involved with Matchbook. And as we said previously, they have the bet builder option this year. You can also bet singles from the bet builder by just literally populating the bet slip. You want to get involved with those guys, and you want a sign-up code in time for Sunday night, even beforehand, Six Nations this weekend as well. Use the bonus code POD50, POD50 when signing up to avail of that. And the full terms and conditions can be found on the Insights tab at matchbook.com. Sometimes you'd be panicking about when those lines go the other way, Brad, but the case is still very strong, and you can play it up the ladder at 40+, potentially above that. But again, I think Hurts will get time, whereas I think Mahomes potentially on the other side may not get as much time. Let's stick with the Eagles, so we'll move on to the Chiefs player props. So one other Eagles angle I had as well. Matchbook don't have this line yet, because we're recording probably a bit earlier than normal this week. The team sack line for the Eagles, I thought was didn't fully correlate to what I was seeing getting plus money. This is just with 365 and going from here, just for a bit of context. Eagles over 2.5 sacks, and look, I mean, I just think this just has a lot of shapes of the Bucs game a couple of years ago, where the Eagles are still going to play 2 high safeties, and I think the matchup advantages, which you've covered already, Brad, favor the Eagles on this side. And I thought this would be 186, 1.8, maybe 2.5 sacks. I think they get the pressure, and I think Mahomes, especially in the first half, is under pressure, and they get there. And of course, you also have with the Chiefs, they will be able to probably work around it and scheme and probably get that quick passing game going. But again, I think Eagles linebackers will hold up okay there as well. And yeah, look, there's a hell of a lot of questions there. Because you picked Noah Gray there for a player prop against the Bills, I think, wasn't it? And they played the 12 personnel every week, and they just changed it to 11 personnel for that game, and we saw way more Juju Smith-Schuster. So that the tricky part with the Chiefs is that they can change it up so much, and in fairness, some of those running plays in the second half, especially against the Bills, with in the pistol formation, and Mahomes almost had like two fullbacks flanking him and Kareem Hunt in the backfield, and there was counter motion with the line. There is some crafty stuff, but that's against that Bills D line, this Eagles D line, different story.
Yeah, there was that quote from Gregory Rousseau from the Bills afterwards, where he was saying there are plays we've never seen. Well, and that I think that's part of the reason why the Chiefs are so often undervalued in the postseason, because they are running the shit plays all year long, and then it's postseason, and then it's the Mahomes keeper, which they've not shown on tape all year long. And the Bills, we haven't seen that. How are we going to be prepared for that? So that is the reason why, one of the reasons why you wouldn't just want to fade Kansas City on the straight money line. I think, as discussed, there are other ways to get at it.
Yeah, and look, just before we get to the Chiefs player props, the great I'll chuck in a bet builder in the Telegram group Saturday or Sunday this week. Just there's going to be way more markets even closer to the weekend on matchbook.com. But you kind of come up with the narrative of how this is going to go. You envision it, and that is the Super Bowl is a good bet builder game. Always has been in that sense, because there's no other game in town. Might as well have one or two as well, just to keep the entertainment factor. But obviously, gamble responsibly, and remember, you don't have to have your full Sunday bankroll on one game, because it is only one game at the end of the day. Over to the Chiefs side, a bet that I think I tried to talk you out of last time out. He got there in the end. Smash Pirine out of the backfield for the Chiefs. 7.5 is receiving line at 1.8. That's with 365, but you can back it at 196.10 plus at Matchbook, so you can play up the ladder there potentially as well. A reliable pair of hands, and if the game state dictates it, Brad, if they're playing any bit of catch up, he'll be on the field a lot more, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. So we did speak about this, didn't we, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And I think I said he was 15-3 to over 7.5, and he got there basically on the last play of the game against the Bills. So he's now 16-3 to the over. And part of the reason this line is relatively low is because we've not seen that much of him in the playoffs. But they've not been running very many 2-minute drills. I don't think they had a 2-minute drill against the Bills. And B, they've not really been behind that much. But he's still running a fair few routes. So P. Ryan's 17 routes in the playoffs, Pacheco 19, Hunt 27. So he's kind of getting his standard usage. And yeah, we kind of think they might be behind, certainly coming out of the half. More third downs as well. I think in the first half against the Bills, the Chiefs ran 3 third down plays. You would expect that to increase as well. And again, he's the best receiving back by a mile. So I feel like this is maybe artificially a bit lower, even though he's still covering it. This is low for whatever reason, and I think it's just because they've not been in that much 2-minute drill. They've not been in that much third down. They've not been trailing, and I think it's reasonable to expect all of those can kind of get normalized a little bit, and then you're getting a lot of upside. I think here, for 20 plus, which is 3 point something, things like that.
And if the Chiefs are 28-0 up at halftime, this isn't getting up. That's the joys of it. The way we envision seeing the way we envision seeing this game going is going to be close, and we're definitely a bit more pro Eagles. So that's how we see it going. And yeah, everyone's their own different opinion. It could go sideways. You never know. That's the joys of it. I discussed obviously the pass rush from the Eagles and the D line against the O line, and I think what will come to fruition of that is Mahomes' rush attempts. Now, his main line in terms of rushing, I think you're talking 29.5, 30. But the rush attempts I like here at 1.8, and it's actually kind of going against me because I think the main line early in the week was 6.5, and it's down to 5.5 now, and I'm kind of wondering why. But either ways, Mahomes scrambling in the regular season, when they're just beating all around them and they're just kind of cruising along. 6%. And in the postseason, it's jumped to 15%. So, yeah, and he's clipped this every game of the playoffs so far. And I think he's going to have to take off. And again, as I said previously, if the Eagles drop the two deep safeties, there's going to be kind of maybe some gaps over the middle. And yeah, he's going to have to get there. And obviously, Vic Fangio's defense, they're going to scheme up plenty for him. But, he has the ability with his legs to get there. And yeah, I just think even in terms of the attempts, you also have the angle of a kneel down at halftime if the Chiefs are winning at the end of the game as well. And you're panicking that he only has 4 rushing attempts, but they have the ball after the 2-minute warning, potentially in a winning position. And they all count as attempts as well. So it's a bit of a dirty angle, all right. But yeah, that's the way it goes. So also, Eagles, as great they weren't great at keeping the opposing quarterbacks in the pocket this season, allowing the 12 most rushing yards. I was surprised with Jaden Daniels the last night that there wasn't more schemed up as well for him. I would have sooner let him take off in the running game rather than try to pass his way through this Eagles defense, but it didn't happen. So yeah, that's my angle there. I think that's it, mate. Our bets so far. Anything else to cover? Any other angle of note? We're not covering the national anthem or the coin toss or the colour of the Gatorade, any that kind of muggy shite. But yeah, look, there are angles. No point getting too carried away. Anything else, Matt?
The one thing I will, if I can actually find it in my little sheet here, I've got way too much nonsense. It was talking about explosive plays. Hold on, I'm going to have to put this in WhatsApp rather than my actual sheet. So you can bet things like Chiefs to have more plays, which I think is quite good. Sort of, I've seen 1.95 around at Bills. And I think if you think about how this game is going to be played, the Chiefs are going to be methodical, like drive, play 5 yards, success rate. Chiefs are 26th in explosive pass rate. And the Eagles' defense is allowing the lowest explosive pass rate. And then, so yeah,
that's a Fangio MO, isn't it? That's Fangio.
Yeah,
he'll let you think and dunk them. Yeah, you can think and dunk all day. We'll hold your field goals. Yeah,
make them go 12 plays, and Mahomes will happily go 12 plays. Like we've seen that for years now. Yeah. Whereas on the other side, you've got Saquon, you've got AJ Brown, you've got a lot more explosion. So I think it's quite reasonable we would see the Chiefs run more plays here. Or another way to get at that is the Eagles to have more explosives, whether that's like Jalen Hurts' longer pass play than KC or longest touchdown, things like that. So yeah, I think Chiefs more plays, Eagles more explosive. I think that's quite a nice way to get into the way these teams play.
Yeah, I do like it. Of the props that you've covered there, mate, what's the top angle?
Let's go P Ryan. Let's go Samaje P Ryan for a Super Bowl best bet, shall we?
Is with that kind of bet, Brad, so it's low enough 9, 7.5. Would you be looking at potentially a ladder as well, like the 15, 20 hours? Like I know in terms of usage, he isn't on the field that much, but is there any upside to that?
I think there is upside. I think if we get that trailing game state, Chiefs down 24-14, they were down low.
Yeah.
24-14 at half time, I think P Ryan can get 40 yards receiving easily, I think.
15 plus 2.5, 20 plus 3.3, 25 plus 4.5, and you can go beyond that. But yeah, so they're the current prices. I'm going to take the Mahomes rush attempts over 5.5 or 6 plus, whichever way you want to word that, at 1.8. Slim enough price. We'll put a bet builder in the Telegram group as well. Closer to the weekend. Might put 2 there. There's some good crack going on the side there. Speaking of which, we'll probably keep that going during the off season. Brad's baseball stuff has always been well received, and I'm hoping to get a few more accounts restricted on rugby union as well throughout the off season. So we'll keep that going, and we'll see where we go. Last show this year, if you could potentially give us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Pods or wherever you listen to us, that would be very much appreciated. That's all we ask from you. It's been an absolute pleasure covering this with you again this year, mate. A lot of fun, easily done.
20 minutes each week.
There you go. the Brad Allen Oilers podcast. It just rubbed off me, mate. Just literally, I feel bad when it goes over 25 minutes, but it's true. We all have enough podcasts to listen to. Been a pleasure, mate. Thanks for listening and thanks for engaging with us throughout the season. Enjoying the crack on the Telegram group. Let's keep it going and best of luck with your Super Bowl 59 bets. Bye for now.